Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's class. Last week, we looked at different methods of styling. We looked at normal CSS styling. We looked at using CSS in JavaScript, right? So, and we covered a lot. But this week, we'll be continuing with CSS styling, right? So we'll look at other methods of styling. We'll look at some higher level methods of styling. Please acknowledge you can hear me in the text box, please. Okay, all right. Okay. Yeah, so today we'll look at some CSS libraries, right? Some styling libraries, and we'll also look at some component-based libraries that we can also use in React, right? So let's get right into what we have to do today, okay? Yeah, so we'll still utilize this code base. I hope you guys are not tired of seeing this code base. It's getting big, it's getting bigger and bigger, right? Pardon me. It's getting bigger and bigger, right? So basically, what we'll do today, we'll look at hold on, guys. Yeah, so we'll look at SCSS first. Then we'll move to we'll now look at some libraries, okay? So SCSS basically is a processor that extends CSS by allowing features like variables, nesting, mixins, and inheritance, right? While styling. So what this means is your CSS becomes more modular and reusable, okay, with SCSS. Now, a lot of companies will always request, want you to use SCSS for their code base. Depends though. Some will still, like I say, it depends on what you want to do or what you want to achieve while styling, your styling needs, right? So for this class, let's look at, okay, let's work on our overview page, okay? So first thing, let's browse to our overview, okay? So what we want to do for overview, remember when we want to have like a style sheet for a particular component, we should always remember to group that component, like create a directory for that component and group it so that it's easy to navigate and access, right? So for this, we are just going to create a folder called overview. And then inside overview, first thing we will move overview into that folder. And update then we can now add our SCSS style sheet here. Okay, so let's call this overview dot SCSS. So as you can see, the logo here is different from CSS, right? Note that you would require to install SCSS in your code base for it to work, okay? So I'm going to drop the command. I've already installed it to save time. I'm going to drop the command here in the text box, right? So let me paste the command here too for the benefit of those who will be watching this on YouTube. Okay, so this is the command to install SCSS. Excuse me. There is a mistake in that command, sorry. Oh no, there's no. Yeah, so this is the command to install SCSS, okay? Now let's go ahead and utilize SCSS in our code base, okay? So let's create some styles that we would use inside the overview screen. But first, let's import overview. SCSS. So first, let's import overview.scss. So we used a small letter to avoid having the kind of bugs that we had before. So we'll go overview.scss, okay? Now let's write out some styles that we want to utilize inside here. So we have an H1 tag, and then we have a P tag, okay? So let's assume that we want to style this H1 as a subtitle, okay? So instead, let's do this. So let's call this overview container. And then for overview container, let's have class name of title. Title, right? And then let's also have class name of class name of detail. Okay, so now what happens in this scenario when we are using SCSS? You can, like I said, you can nest. You can do some nesting, create variables, and then you can do mixins and others, right? So let's go ahead and create a variable. So for this variable, we want to have a primary color, right? So we use an at first, then add the primary color. So basically what we've done now is create a primary color. We can also create a secondary color, and we can define any kind of variable that we want to utilize, okay? Now we can utilize these variables directly in our code, right? As far as we've already added our class into, we've added the overview SCSS to our components, okay? Now let's define the style for our container. So let's have like a card, right? A card-like vibe. So if we add the container, we can style it to look like a card, okay? Let's give it a width of say 50%. Okay. So if we save this, ideally, we should have, all right, so our, okay. All right, so we have a card here, right? So let's bring that card to the center. Let's give it margin auto. Yes, okay. Good. So I think the BG, the background of that, so we're using the secondary color now. You see what we did here? We defined our variables up here. So instead of adding colors directly now, we can now add those variables to our wherever we want to, right? So assuming we have like a lot of style definitions in this code, maybe it can get up to like 2,000 lines of code. It's easy to just be picking your variables and just adding them wherever you want to add them. That way, when you come back up here, if there's need to change your primary color, it's easy to change your primary color in one location. Do you understand? It's SAS. So Udo, I see your question. It's SAS, please. Okay. Yeah. So basically what happens now is that no matter how large this code base is, if I want to change where I am using my secondary color now, all I need to do is come up to where I define that variable of secondary color and change the color. I wouldn't need to go through the whole CSS file looking for everywhere I've added this color to change it. Okay? Is that clear? Are we together? So good. So Udo, you're not with us. What's your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question. So Udo, we're waiting for you, please. So I dropped the installation command. Did you copy it and add it? Did you try to install it and it didn't work? Udo, did you copy the command I dropped in the text box and it did not work? You are really slowing me down, so I need you to respond so that I can move forward. But did you install it? That's the question, please. Did it work when you installed it? Okay, I would like to move forward with the class. So if you notice, I did not change the link. So let's move forward, please, class. When we created, so we all understand the whole point, the concept of creating variables, right? Just the way we do in JavaScript, okay? So all we are doing here is we are creating variables so that we can use them across our style sheet. Now, what happens is anywhere I use this variable, I can always easily change the content of this variable. So I can change this color over here and it will affect everywhere I have added secondary color to. Okay. So let's just update this color because it's a little bit too bright for what we're trying to do. All right, that's better. So now we have our overview, right? Now, remember I said we can nest, we can do nesting of style, right? So if we come to overview now, this H1 is a child of this overview container, right? The div container. So we can style this title by targeting it inside the overview container. Okay. So if we pick the title and then we go to our style sheet, we can come inside here and style our title directly inside here. Okay. Are we following? Please acknowledge that we are following, you're following what I'm teaching so that we can move. I don't know, why is the class so cold today? Soliana, are you there? Rahim, are you following this class? Please focus. If you focus on the task when you're supposed to be in the class, how are you supposed to understand what's happening? This is not tax time. There's time for everything. You're in the class. This is just a 2 hours class. Focus on the class. After the class, you go back to battling with your tax. All right. So I don't want to be coming back and coming back. So I want us to follow through so that everybody is following and we are together all through. So that when tax drops like this, people will not struggle. You would have understood everything that you're trying to do. You understand the concept, you understand what you need to do, and you just follow through. Okay. All right. So we've defined our title style, and you can see that that title has been affected by that style. Okay. We can also go ahead and define our description style. Okay. So, like I said, what's happening here is, so let's give it a different color so that it's obvious. Okay, so I think we have details. Okay. All right. So basically this is like straightforward rundown of how you can utilize the things you can do with SaaS, right? So yes, to answer your question, you are installing SaaS, all right? It's called SaaS in React. But when you are creating your style sheet, you create it with the extension of SCSS. That is why when we're importing this style sheet, we're not importing the library or the processor, right? We're importing the style sheet. Are we good? All right, so let's go ahead and look at Tailwind. So first thing I'll do is drop the Tailwind documentation in the text box. So go ahead and open it. You'll be able to see step by step how to install uh, Tailwind CSS, okay? So basically, Tailwind provides low-level utility classes that you combine directly in your HTML, JSX to style your components, okay? So now what happens with Tailwind is, Tailwind, you don't need to write any style sheet when using Tailwind because they are utility classes that have been pre-designed already. Okay, so as soon as you have installed Tailwind to your application, you can directly style your application inside the component, right? So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Okay, so I have installed Tailwind here, but let me go ahead and show you what the documentation looks like so that you can follow through. So this particular instructions is for um, React applications that have been created with Vite, right? So as you can see, it takes you through the whole process of creating the application, then installing the Tailwind CSS, right? And then updating your vite.config.ts, your vite.config.ts file, right? to add this tailwind or CSS, this tailwind CSS, right? Then it gives you instruction on what to do in your CSS file. This is supposed to go into your entry point CSS. So we are looking at index.css, okay? You import this here. Then you can now start styling. So let's look at the code base so that I'll show you exactly what that looks like here. So after installation, if you check your package.json, you can see tailwind.css/vit installed there, right? And then for me, I have already imported tailwind.css into my vit.config. So this application is already optimized for Tailwind CSS. So if I come to my index.css, you will see that I've imported Tailwind here too. Okay, so the instructions are pretty straightforward. Just follow the instructions. Your project already has this particular file. So follow the instructions, do the importations necessary, and Tailwind will be working instantly. Are we good? Is that clear? Yes, okay, all right. So let's go ahead and use Tailwind in our component, okay? So for this div now, if we want to apply the same styles that we had, right? So we want to give it a background color, and all we need to do is add the BG. And you can see that there are suggestions for what kind of background color we want to give it, right? So let's say gray, and let's give it a variant of 700, okay? Let's add some padding and then rounded. So what this stands for is the radius, okay? So rounded here stands for the radius, and then the shadow, right? To add shadow to our div, okay? So if you come here, you can see that that style has been implemented here. Now, you might get confused with this. I don't want you to get confused with what's happening here. You can always come back to your documentation, at least for now. You can utilize your documentation to see all the utility classes that are available. So depending on what you want, you can come here and search for it and you will find it. So if you are trying to handle your layouts, you can come here and you will see Flex, how to use Flex with code example. You can see order. You can see how to use grid columns. You can see how to use grid templates, right? And each of them come with code examples. As you can see, you can easily spot the different utility classes that you can utilize to achieve the particular design that you are trying to achieve, right? You can see for justification, depending on how you want to justify your layout, you can see alignments, right? You can also see padding and margin for spacing. You can see sizing. So you can size your div using utility classes. You can see that there are a lot of utility classes here to style your div. So this is like for width. So you can have different width here for each of your, for whichever width that you want to apply to your div. You can also apply min width and max width. You also have height. You can access the height utility classes, check here and pick classes that you want to implement depending on what you want to achieve. There's typography where you can find a font family, font size. So you want to, for different font sizes, you can come here and pick the particular font size that you want. Okay. You can see font style too. You can also see, yes, this way, if you want to make it bold, have italics, right? You can also see letter spacing, line clamps. So is limitless rather. So Tailwind is quite limitless. You can actually tweak and modify most of these um, utility classes, right? So let's say we want to add width, okay? And we are looking at adding, so we have predefined width here, but probably we don't see the width that we are trying to utilize, right? So for this width now, you can see that this width is 80 rems, which is also 1,280 px, right? So if I pick this and attach this width to our div, it automatically gives it that width, okay? So let me close this. It automatically gives it this width. We can also give it like margin auto so that it is centralized, okay? Okay. So now we can customize this and give it like a custom width if we want, right? That is if we don't want to utilize the width that is provided by Tailwind. So we can customize that width. We can do a lot of customization around here. We can add color directly here. So let's say we want to let's check our SCSS and pick the color that we had here. So let's say we want to use this color. We can actually attach this color by adding square bracket, right? Okay, and it works. All right. So we have one issue. Our margin auto is not working, which is quite wrong. Okay. So you can actually get any utility class that you want, like any kind of styling that you want to get, right? You can come to Tailwind and you can come to the documentation and get it, right? Tailwind has components too, but when you are used to using the styles like the utility class, to be easy for you to adapt to the components, right? So let's go ahead and just look at our next styling option. Okay. So do we understand how to use Tailwind now? Okay, have we looked at the documentation on our own? Like, have you opened the documentation? Explore, feel free to explore the documentation, check out everything, you know, read the blogs, try to join the communities so that if there are new things happening in Tailwind, you'll be able to follow up and be updated, right? You can check out the components too. They have components. So as you can see here, for components, they have free components, but for some high-level components, you need to get access, right? So as you can see, these components come with um, code. They come with your code. So as you can see, this component now, this very component, there is the code here. We can just go here and get code. But as you can see, you need to pay for that one. Okay. So there are a lot of things. There are buttons, pre-designed buttons, pre-designed like this now. You see that this is a product listing design that you can just pick and use. But you require to pay for them, right? You need to pay for them before you can use them. So I think there used to be, hold on. So this is marketplace, payroll section. There are lower level components that are free. Well, like I said, go ahead and explore, right? Go ahead and explore the whole documentation, and you get to see other benefits of using Tailwind. I personally use Tailwind because it's limitless. I can customize Tailwind to any way I want it, right? I can customize my code to any length, which is why I usually prefer to use Tailwind. But if you don't prefer Tailwind, it's still very okay. You can always utilize other methods that we've looked at, okay? Let's go ahead and look at our next styling method. So our next styling method is Chakra UI, okay? So Chakra UI is component-based styling. It's a component-based styling library, okay? It gives you accessible, reusable React components with built-in styling and props, okay? So no free one. I think, like I said, just check, explore. There used to be free components like buttons and accordions and stuff like that. Yes. So just go ahead and check, explore. So our next styling tool is Chakra UI. Okay. So Chakra UI is component-based, right? It's a component-based library, styling library. It provides you with accessible, reusable React components with built-in styles and props, right? So, like I always do, I will drop the documentation. Okay. So I'll drop the documentation in the text box. Now, this is what you do for each of the links that I'm dropping. Collate them and drop them in the in the channel, right? In the Discord channel. Okay, so that people that miss this, for those who miss the class, who watch it from YouTube, can get the links from there. Okay, all right, thank you. So to install, like I said about documentations, you see that we are on Vite, right? So you can go ahead and just follow the instructions here. The instructions here are also very straightforward. You have your installation command. You install that. You add your snippet using this command. And then you create a jsconfig.json file where you would add this content to it. Then you set up your provider, okay? Now, as you can see, just the way we remember how we were setting up our providers for routing and all that. So we also did that, or I also did that for Chakra, yeah? So we added the provider here, following what they have instructed here, right? Then we went ahead to set up a config path, which we were now able, before we were now able to import this TS config path into our vit.config.ts file. That is here. So as you can see, I have already done that. Okay, so all this is already here. It's straightforward instructions because it is tailored for a Vit setup, right? So once you follow these instructions, you pretty much can get everything that you want. Okay, are we good? Are we good, guys? Can we move? Okay. So since we have I've gone through the process of installing that already, we'll just go ahead and start and utilize it. Okay. So let's import our components from Chakra. Okay. So let's say import. So we want to import box. Then we want to have text. And we want to have flex. Then let's have button. Okay. All right. Okay, so we have our text button. All right. We are importing from Chakra UI React. Okay. That's one. So this box here is like our div that we use in our application, right? So if we replace this div, we can replace this div with box. But now we will not be utilizing our class name because we can pass props. There are props that are inbuilt in this box already that we can utilize to style this box, right? So let's assume that we want to give this box a padding. We will just have P, and then for P, we'll give it 5. So we want to have padding of 5. And then let's assume that we want to give it, let's give it a background color. So for background color, we'll just go with, let's go with gray. And for gray, let's use 700, okay? Then probably we want to align our text to the center. So let's say align, and then we can say center, okay? So I believe you can see that, you can see how I am styling this box now. I am using props that are already inbuilt into this box. Now, like I always say, explore. When you explore, you see how these props are being designed inside the documentation so that it's easy for you to know what to use and how to use what to use. Do you understand? So now, if we come here, you can see that our gray has been applied with our padding, and then our text is aligned to the center, okay? So if we want to, we can add width, right? Can say 1 to 50%. All right. Okay. Are we good? So now for these two, okay, so let's assume that we have 2 headings and we want the 2 headings to have a flex, right? So let's bring in our flex. And then we have first heading and we have our second heading. Okay. So now basically let's convert this heading to what we have here, to our Chakra UI. So we have text and we have text, okay? Good. And then for this text, we want to give it some styling, right? So we want to give font size, right? And then we want to give font size of, say, XL, right? And then we want to color our text color to be, let's pick that color from, okay, hold on. Let's pick the color from, let's just go with blue. Okay. So let's give this same style. Okay. And then let's give it red. Overview 2 and then overview 1. Okay. All right. So we now have flex and we have our content, right? So if we go here, we should have that content. Okay. So let's align our text. Align center. Then we can justify space between, and then we can do give it a little margin bottom. Let's remove that. I don't think I need that. Okay, so we have our overview 1, overview 2, okay? So we can actually resize this overview section, this header section, so that we can bring our overview closer, right? So we can give it like a width of 50%. Can say width of 50% so that it comes closer, right? Okay, and then so our text is aligned to center. Or two. Okay. So you see how we are styling this? We are using props that are already inbuilt into this text field, right? So all we need to do is just add the props and give it a value, right? Now, like I said, for you to enjoy what you are doing, you need to still go ahead and do your own research, right? So you have your documentation for Chakra. Go ahead and explore, check out the UI components, OC components, right? You come here, you can see layout, aspect ratio, bleed, box, center, depending on what you want, right? Container, grid. So you can use this to, and they always give code example, right? So you can actually use your code example to figure it out. You can see that they have designed a grid layout here where the template column should repeat by 3, and then they have given other values, and they have also added some gap. Now the particular decorative box already has a height of 20, right? So you can go ahead and explore, look at all these and see what it does. They have examples, and then they have code to show you what that particular example looks like, right? So for that example, you can see what they've done. You can go ahead and explore. There's typography. In typography, you can check out heading. So there's a heading tag. So for what we just did now, if we want to, if this is supposed to be our heading, then we would convert this to a heading tag. I believe we are following. We can convert this to heading tag and then import it, right? Okay, and we are good. Then for this p tag, you can come here and check out other options for your text. So you can see highlight. If you want to highlight the text, you can just add highlight to your text, okay? And then you can query the particular text that you want to highlight. Are you following? And we have our text too, right? So we can convert that div, that p tag to a text. And yes, we have button too. Okay. So basically this provides you with what you were doing with the style components, where you create your own components by using the style component library to create your own custom components. Right, to create your own custom components. Well, basically, I wouldn't say it's limited. So just explore. All right, you might discover some things that myself I haven't discovered. Right, so feel free to explore. Yeah. So for this now, you don't need to go through the whole stress now of creating your style components, right? These components are already styled for you. So all you need to do is access the style that is already inbuilt into the components and then utilize them. So this is also a very, very interesting tool for styling. Okay. Are we good? Do we understand so far? Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, so we'll look at one more before we call it a day, and we'll wrap up for styling. I will tell you about some others that you can go ahead and explore on your own. Okay, most of them are pretty straightforward. Just they have documentation, so you just go ahead and check the documentations and you are good. So Hilary Daniel, your hand is raised. Is your question with regards to this class? If yes, unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So I've been busy with NYC, but this is just a question. I'm seeing you're using S in your terminal, but the terminal I use is Bash. Is it going to affect it?
Terminal you're using is Bash.
Yes, sir.
Clarify your question.
I'm seeing ZSH on your own, not like my own. What I use is Bash. I don't know whether it's something different.
No, it's not. You can
I can still use Bash and run.
You can use any command line to run it. But if you don't have Node installed, then you won't be able to work now. Have you installed Node on your system?
Yeah, I have Node on my system.
Yeah, then just go ahead and try out the commands. They should work.
Okay, and secondly, sir, okay, that's just the one I have concerning the class. I'll drop the other question on the channel.
That's better. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at yes, I did. Mohammed, I did teach that. So go back and check the class when it is uploaded. Okay, so let's look at material UI before we call it a day. Okay, so let's go to material UI documentation. So I'm going to drop this link. So Udo, I hope you are collating these links for your class. All right, so basically installation of material UI is pretty straightforward too. You have your command to install the library, right? And then you can go ahead and install all that. So if you want to utilize style components in material UI, you can utilize this installation. But on default, material UI comes with emotion, right? I taught you guys emotion last week, last class rather. So material UI on default comes with emotion, but if you want to utilize style components instead, you can go ahead and utilize this other installation, depending on what you want. Okay. Then you can also pick out the Roboto fonts. A lot of companies utilize Roboto fonts, especially those companies that are using Material UI. Okay. So you can install Roboto fonts in your component and follow the instructions. So these are the importations you will need to do in your CSS file. That is your index.css file, right? And then you can also add this code to your these CDN codes to your file, to your code, right? To your head, to your entry points, right? That's your HTML code. Okay. Now you can also install icons, material icons. So, like I said, for people who would want you to utilize Material UI, it would be ideal that you utilize Material icons for their projects, right? So you can actually install their icons, okay? So with that, that's like a rundown of how to install Material UI. Material UI also has components that you can pick from. So you can see they have buttons. So you can pick a button component from Material UI and utilize it. You can pick this like an image tag. So you can utilize it to display your images, right? As you can see here, the examples that have been added here, okay? You even have later avatars, right? That you can use. You have badge. So you can use this for, say, your notifications or your, yeah, basically notifications or message box. We have chip, right? So there's a lot. There are icons. This is the material icon section. Then we have tables. So you can actually pick a full table from here and just plug it in and it's already responsive. Okay. So all you need to do is click on show code and you can see Material UI has already designed your table completely for you. So once you pick this component and this code and place it in your project, you should have a fully functional table component. So you can either pick for TypeScript or for JavaScript, okay? So since we are working with JavaScript, let's see. Hold on, let me confirm that we have Material UI installed. Okay, Material UI, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let's go ahead and test out this table component, okay? Okay, so as you can see, everything we are using inside this table component is gotten directly from Material UI. So this is just like dummy data, right? That they created. So let's assume that you get data from a database. You want to replace that data with whatever they've created here. So if we take this table and add it to our overview component. So let's say table, okay? So we should be able to visualize our table. Are we together? Are we together, guys? Nobody is responding. Are we lost? So if you check this table, because I have not done responsiveness for this particular card, you see that when it is on small screen, it is still taking the width I added for big screen, right? So just for the purpose of that, let's just give it 90%. Okay. So as you can see, this table is already responsive. Are you following? Are you following? You see that the table is not exceeding the allocated space that was designed for it, right? Because it's already a responsive table. Okay? Are we good? Okay, Udo, you have questions. Okay. I hope it doesn't take us too far back. Yes, definitely you can. You can combine but what is the need for combining? It's better to just to evaluate what you want to do, uh, weigh the options that you have. You have a lot of options. Pick the most suitable that satisfies your need, and then you utilize it to build your code. Definitely, for each of these libraries, you can always uh, you can always partner it or pair it with vanilla CSS, right? That is pure CSS. You can even partner it with the SAS, which is the SCSS that we did. Likewise with CSS models, right? So yeah, definitely you can. Like you can see that for material UI, I think was it material UI that for Chakra, I think that was Tailwind. Was it Tailwind? Probably material UI. Okay, yes. So for material UI, you can see that you don't need to utilize emotion separately because material UI already utilizes emotion. And then if you are installing it with style components, you don't need to use style components separately anymore because material UI on its own is already utilizing style component to feed your UI. Do you understand, Udo? Yes, of course. So inside this table, so this table component now that I created, I can definitely give it some extra styling, customization. I can customize this table to look exactly how I want it to look. Okay? I can utilize Tailwind to do that kind of customization. All I would need to do is add class name, right? Add a class name and I can add any style I want to add to this different components. Are we good? Likewise, using normal CSS, of course, I can do that too. So the expectation is not that you would expect that because material UI table was designed to look like this, what you want to achieve might not look like this. The UI that you are trying to replicate or you are trying to build might not look like this. Definitely, you want to style this to look exactly as what you want. Okay? Are we together? Yeah, so what the difference between this now and Chakra now is that for Chakra, you already have like props, right? You already have like props that are already designed into Chakra's components. Okay, so all you need to do is just access those props and you can utilize those props to do all your type of styling. Yet you can still add a class name and still give it some custom styles if you want, right? But for material UI, what they are doing for you is they are giving you a component layout an already designed component layout, a responsive component layout that what you need to do is customize it with your styling. So all you need to do is style it to look like to look how you want it to look. Okay, you can utilize Tailwind to do that style. You can utilize CSS. You can utilize SCSS, SAS to do that styling. Okay, are we good now? Is that clear? All right. So yeah. So basically, you can get, so they have a lot of components in Material UI that you can utilize, dividers, badge, a lot. There's navigation, right? There's button navigation. As you can see, look at this. This is a navigation bar that you can just plug and play, right? And give it a little customization to look the way you want it to look. Add your functionalities to it. That is if you have different functionalities that you want to add, okay? You have breadcrumbs, right? And then you have drawers. So you see what's happening here. So you can use this to have to implement on your dashboard, right? To have drawers that can open and close, okay? You can also customize it to look anyhow you want it to look. You can change the icons, whatever. You have menu bar that you can also explore, right? It's a nice menu bar. There's pagination. So as you can see, they've given you like different options, different types of paginations here with the designs, okay? All you need to do is utilize them, style them if you want, okay? And you can achieve anything you want to achieve with this. You have some speed. This one is speed there. See, once you hover on it, it pops up. You can utilize this component too. So there's a lot. There's so much you can do with Material UI. That's why Material UI is a very valuable um, uh, library. Okay, are we good? Yes, no. So are we good, guys? Do we understand everything we've covered today? Because I would expect that you would improve on your styling after this class, right? And then you can explore whichever type of styling you want. For our tax, feel free to use any method that you want. It will be interesting to see what everybody picks for that project and what, yeah, basically, to be interested to see what you guys pick. Yes, exactly. So anything you don't understand so far, just check the video again. But what did you not get? Udo? Okay, I think we still have some minutes to go, so we can cover anything you didn't get. That's not the concept of the tax. So we'll talk about the tax after the class, please. Okay, yeah, so just watch the video, okay? I think it's pretty clear. You will understand. And then go ahead and look at the documentation. You will understand too. Most of the things, they are pretty straightforward, okay? All right. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining today's class. I look forward to seeing you guys next week on Monday. Have a nice day and have a great weekend ahead and enjoy your tax. Bye, guys.